Have you ever felt different? So let me tell you a story. One time I was teaching my third graders. They're at recess, and I was scanning the emails to see which one is the most important because I didn't have much time. And I saw it. There it was in the subject line. Welcome to Japan. I'm like, oh my gosh. I finally got the email that I've been waiting for. I had applied and now have been accepted to teach overseas in Japan. Oh my goodness. I was so excited. But I just kind of knew my life was about to change, right? New school, new classroom, new opportunities, and new country. So the months leading up to me moving were a whirlwind, as you can probably imagine. I was finishing up teaching my third graders. I had to pack my classroom. I had to sell my furniture. I was kind of a hot mess, but I just kept going. And through all the tears of happiness and nerves, I said my goodbyes. As I'm on the airplane, all the what ifs started racing in my head. I thought, what if this was a mistake? What if I didn't fit in? What if I wasn't good enough? Have you ever had those feelings? Yeah. So when I landed in Japan, I was like, I'm gonna do this. But not for nothing, the cultural missteps I made often. I didn't know how to communicate, and I was struggling. And all the differences just made me feel even more lonely. So picture this. I raised my hand instead of bowing when I met someone new. I didn't know how to order food because I couldn't read or speak the language. And I definitely felt embarrassed when I forgot to take my shoes off in a Japanese home. I felt different. And I just knew I needed to work through this because I knew that what I was feeling was what most neurodivergent children feel every day. Neurodivergent is a term that's used for people that think, act, or behave differently than their peers. People with autism or ADHD or anxiety, Down syndrome, or learning disabilities can be considered neurodivergent. And I just knew that when they're feeling this every day, but just on a much, much, much bigger scale. So people with autism, with people with ADHD could have 6 racing thoughts in their head as they're meeting someone new and miss hearing their name. Somebody with autism could be flapping their hands to soothe themselves, but overshare on a topic. And then somebody with anxiety could be flooded with the what ifs and miss a learning opportunity. So as a teacher of 30 years and as an advocate, I'm here to make a systematic change. I know that kids are being labeled for their disabilities and not being seen for their strengths. And that upsets me, and I can see you're nodding, that upsets you too. So 30 years of teaching and as an advocate now, I know that children need somebody to hear their voice. And kids are being labeled for their disabilities and not being seen for their strengths. When I hear, well, he has autism, or somebody with his cognitive profile, I just get so fired up. My neck starts to get red, my teeth clench, and I literally am so angry because I think, that's it? You just heard someone say a diagnosis and then you shut down. I feel like people close their mind to hearing who that child really is. My hope is that people hear the diagnosis and open their minds to ask, what can they do? What are their strengths? Neurodiverse children can be different. Society sees them as their disabilities, but they haven't stopped and looked for their abilities. So I'm here to advocate for a systematic change. Like we said, we need to make sure that kids are seen and heard for what they can do, not for what they can't do. When I lived in Japan, I felt different. During the nights and the weekends, I understood how it was to be American, to learn the Japanese culture and language. But during the day I shined. I had the opportunity to teach American children whose military families were stationed overseas. good teacher. I shined. I had an opportunity to use my genius zone. And that is what I want for all the children. I want children to have this opportunity to use their genius zone. Many neurodivergent children, their odd behaviors, weird behaviors, can actually be seen as strengths. So the next time you hear somebody saying, well, the child is defiant, let's call them persistent. And then when you just try to say a child is attention-seeking, let's say they have creative in their imagination. And the next time you hear someone's behavior as stubborn, let's just say and celebrate their resilience. So if you're a parent, teacher, or an adult with a child, with a neurodiverse child in your life, I invite you, you have the power to make a change. Let's use the acronym SEE, S-E-E. S stands for see their abilities, not their disabilities. E stands for educate for inclusion. Let's see their world. And the last E is to embrace every child for who they are and let them shine. Eventually, I learned some of the Japanese language and the culture. But neurodiverse children are never going to be neurotypical. So let's stop trying to fit them into our world and start seeing them for who they are and their unique gifts that they have to offer the world. Theodore Roosevelt once said, do what you can with what you have where you are. And I invite you to do just that. Together, we can create a world where every child is seen for their abilities, not their disabilities.